Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Geekcast podcast. My name is Dan Whitehead.
Patrick Howard.
And Gerald Foster.
Good. Everyone needs enthusiasm on this Sunday afternoon, evening, night. People be blowing up my phone with that post I put on Instagram.
You're just so popular.
It's not even me. I put it on the Geekcast. So, whatever. Anywho, kids, here we are for episode 42. Again, not exciting.
Good movie.
It's a good movie.
It is a good movie.
Number.
That is a good movie.
Yeah, 42 is a good number.
Yeah. All retired throughout the major leagues. Nobody can wear it.
Yep.
And they have Jackie Robinson Day as well.
I
When
think
is
it's
that?
April. I think it's like April.
Yeah,
Is
it's
April?
usually towards the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
And they all wear the number 42, I
Yep.
think. Yeah.
Everyone wears 42.
Which
At least
is,
on the Dodgers.
yeah,
Doesn't
definitely
go
on the
across the
Dodgers.
line.
But I think it might be universal,
Yeah.
which is really confusing for the Yankees because they don't wear names on the back. They never have on their jerseys. So it's just like, everybody's 42. I don't know. And in the distance, you're like, is that my favorite player? Is that? You just have to know their position, I guess.
Right.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
But I would hope you would at least know, like, if your favorite player plays, like, right field versus, like, catcher.
Well, they always
You know.
call out the players before they go out into the field. on
Right,
the big
yeah, no,
jumbotron.
definitely.
I mean, if you're a true fan, you're going to be able to like call out who your players are. I feel
And
like.
also when they go up to bat, too, they always
Mhm.
announce them.
Yeah.
Everyone has their own like intro song and stuff like that. So
Yeah. Derek Jeter was the last player to have one of the not original, but one of the longest announcers for baseball. He was there when he'd come out. So Derek Jeter would come out, and then the guy would say, and I can't think of his name, but he'd say, "Now batting, number 2, Derek Jeter," like number 2, like that. I'm butchering it a little bit, but essentially that. And, you know, obviously he passed away, and then all the other people retired and all that stuff, but Derek Jeter was like still there. And so he was like one of the last people to do it. And everybody else had these brand new like intros and stuff. But he would use that, so they had to play like an old recording of it.
wow,
So it's kind of
I
cool.
did not know that. That's cool.
It's weird that I'm talking about the Yankees the day I get my new Yankee hat.
That's a nice hat. I like it.
Yeah, well, I was just telling Patrick, that was one of the things what I had to do. It came in the mail, and I always get 7 5/8. That's like my hat size or whatever. And I got that hat, and it was huge on my head. Like, I could go all the way around. I could probably do it almost with this one.
Is it? I guess it's a different hat company that made it.
No, it was the same hat, but it was just like, because I was telling you, made in a sweatshop, their sizes aren't as exactly consistent. It's the same thing with like shirts. I've noticed, like, I wear a large shirt, but I'll put some larges on and they fit me like a medium would, and then I put other ones on, they fit me like an extra large would, but they're all larges.
Yep.
So that, you know, it's very inconsistent. And so I went all the way to Lids in Towson because I ordered online, but I was like, I want to get it changed. And so I said, like, would you be able to switch it? And I even tried the 7 5/8 on in the store. That was like their regular, like, field issued hat. And that was still kind of big. So this one is designed a little more like the classic kind of style with the gray bottom, because now they all wear like the solid color bottom, like the blue on the bottom. And then it has like the little American League patch, which will probably fall off because they don't usually stay on that well. But yeah, I went with this one. It was the same price. So they just switched it.
Nice.
And this one fits nice and it's comfortable.
Good.
Anyway, enough about my hat. And you
It's
know
not
what?
why people are
It's
here.
been like
Well-
5 minutes talking about baseball, which is good. Yeah.
Well, it's baseball season's started.
Yeah,
I'm trying to get back into it. I used to watch it more when I was younger, and I was more of a Yankee fan. And then I was like getting back into it, and I was like, do I want to like find a new team? And I was like, no, I'm from New Jersey. I'm a Yankee fan.
a
I
Yankee
always
fan.
was from when I was younger. I was like, I'm a Yankee fan. So I'm trying to get back into it. I wrote down all of the games at Baltimore at Camden Yards that are the student night games, the Friday night student games. Have you heard of this before?
Yeah, no. Yeah.
Have you heard of this?
Is it like a discount thing for
It's
students?
a huge discount. So
It's like $7.
it's $7. You get nosebleed seats, but still, you're $7. You get to go to the game.
Yep.
So if I was to go by myself, usually you go with a friend or something, but if I was to go by myself, it would cost me $10 for the whole night to go see the game and take the metro there and back.
Nice.
It's like for $10. Hell
That's
yeah!
a steal.
Yeah. And there's like 8 games throughout the summer that they're doing like student night now. Now, obviously, not all of them they're playing Yankees, but the first one in April that they're playing, I think it's around the 4th or something like that. I'm going to go to. I asked Greg if he wants to go. You guys are invited as well if you want to go.
Oh, cool,
It's
yeah.
Yankees Orioles, so
Nice,
it should be
nice.
good.
That should be
And otherwise, you'd pay a fortune to see the Bombers, Bronx Bombers.
Yep.
Again, anyway.
No, you're
Um,
yeah, definitely.
But so we're gonna get into it here. Couple things to talk about. I think we'll start off with the most recent news. and then go work backwards from there. So first off, we found out today, or at least I found out driving back from Patrick's shoot, our 4th day total, 2nd day at the cabin, last day at the cabin too. We found out that the now late actor Bill Paxton has passed away at the age of 61 from complications of surgery, which by these standards, 61 is still very young. It's still pretty young.
Very young.
I didn't even know he was like that old to be honest.
I always thought he was in his 50s for some
Yeah.
reason.
Same.
I thought he was a little older, if I was being honest, because I just thought he was. It's one of those. He's one of those actors who's been around so long, so you're like, oh, he's got to be older.
He's an
than
actor
that.
he's a staple of the 80s and 90s.
Right.
Mhm.
Especially like the movies that I grew up with, like Terminator,
Right.
Aliens, and those films. Like you always see him there, like, oh, cool, Bill Paxton. And you kind of keep on going with the film.
Yeah, he was never, or I shouldn't say he was never a lead, but he's always just like a really strong supporting role.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what he was good at. I mean, he was very much like in his characters.
He played
and
like
stuff.
the everyman, like you could kind of relate to him, and he was like a believable
Oh, yeah.
guy.
Yeah. I liked him in Hatfields and McCoys. I like that.
Yeah, I
series.
didn't get a chance to watch that, but
That's like the last thing I watched with him in it.
the last thing I remember him in was Two Guns because he played the CIA agent, and he was really good in that. I thought he was a good villain. But I guess the oldest Bill Paxton movie is Navy SEALs from 1990. And I remember watching that as a kid with my brother, and Charlie Sheen's in it, Dennis Haysbert's in it. It's not a great movie, but it's enjoyable, and he was one of the cooler Navy SEAL characters in the movie.
Right.
So yeah, he's always like when I think about the movies he's been, he's always played like a really strong, like never a huge role. He doesn't have a whole lot of screen time or anything like that. But as a supporting character, he always played it really well, and he was very interesting and usually relatable to some extent. Funny or something.
Yeah,
So-
if I were to recommend like 3 movies that he's in, it would be Aliens, Twister, which is a guilty pleasure for me, but he does a good job, and he has, I think, good chemistry with Helen Hunt, and then Tombstone, which he
yeah,
works
he is
really
Tombstone.
well with Sam
Yeah.
Elliott and Kurt Russell.
Yeah.
It's a great Western. It's my
Yeah,
favorite Western of all
Definitely.
time.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is a good one.
But yeah, it's really unfortunate. That's 2 years older than my dad, 61. So that's really young for him.
Yeah, and hopefully the Oscars caught it in time that they can add him to the in memoriam thing tonight.
I feel like it's a little too late, but who knows? Maybe they'll add in.
I'm hoping it's one of those kind of things that they kind of almost hold the video right up until it's like ready to go. I don't know what they do with the video, or as far as like if it's pre-made and they save it, or if they're just playing it off of a file.
It's broadcasting. It's very really quick. I think they're probably used to like those kind of like not like problems or like kind of sudden
Last-minute
changes. Like,
changes.
okay, Bill Paxton's just like, okay, get an image of him and put it in the memoriam.
Throw it in at the end or something like that. Yeah. I would. It's one of those where I wouldn't be surprised either way. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw him in there. I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't.
They'll probably make an announcement before they do the memoriam,
Right.
especially if he's not going to be
Probably during
in
the red carpet.
Yeah.
I would.
I'm sure they'll
Okay.
talk about that a lot. Yeah. It was even on, like, I have Rolling Stone magazine as my homepage, like for the internet browsers. And as soon as I opened it up when we were at rehearsals, like right across the top in this red like banner, almost like an emergency banner you would see, it says, renowned actor Bill Paxton dies at 61 or whatever. So like they are obviously recognizing it and stuff like that. So he was definitely a good actor that we missed. And the last thing as far as a movie that he'll be in, I looked at it, is the movie The Circle, which is coming out. It's based off the
John
book. Emma Watson and Tom Hanks.
The other day, yeah.
Yeah, I have the book. I had to read it for a class I was in, the English remix class I was telling you about. And I didn't read it, but I kind of want to read it just because I was like, finally a book that I can read before I see the movie. And it's not too long or anything like that, but I have like a couple books ahead of it and stuff. So, but yes, rest in peace, Bill Paxton. You will be missed in the acting community for sure. And as always, thoughts and prayers to his family and friends and all that stuff in this
Most definitely.
sad time. Okay, well, on to lighter things. Working backwards here, a few days ago, a couple news sources put out that supposedly, so this isn't confirmed just yet, but supposedly Martin Scorsese's next film, The Irishman, with Robert De Niro and Al Pacino and possibly Joe Pesci and any other mobster Italian guy that would be in a movie. In that movie, has been picked up by Netflix and will be partially or all the way financed by Netflix. And Gerald and I were kind of talking about it a little before on our way to rehearsal of why we think that move was made. And Gerald, do you want to recap what we're saying?
It's kind of hard to say with Scorsese. Like, it's either a thing of he actually didn't have enough support,
right,
from his normal producers and
which is interesting,
studios, which is weird because Scorsese's
Scorsese,
right? He's a classic. Everything he does, not everything he does is gold, but
no.
In general, Scorsese walks into your office and say, "Hey, I got a new movie." You're usually, all right, cool. So when are we shooting it? What's the deal?
Right.
How's it going? But we are aware of how he's always like looking to stay relevant, usually. And a couple years ago, he shot on video for the first time,
digitally,
and that was one of those things where, him just kind of trying to stay as part of the relevant film community. So I think maybe him realizing how big Netflix is getting, it might have been the decision, you know what, let's have Netflix kind of like run this whole thing from a studio standpoint.
Yeah.
Because he just wants to stay on top of what people are into, and people are more likely to sit down and watch a Netflix movie before, going to the theater or something like that.
Unfortunately, yeah.
I don't know if that's because didn't what's the last movie he did? Silence not do that great?
Well, I was just gonna say that. Yeah, I think maybe people are, because Silence didn't do so well, even though he was like banking on it. Maybe people are starting to not have faith in Martin Scorsese anymore.
Yeah, and Spielberg's kind of going through the same problem too. I think I read recently, like, some of his past films, he's had trouble getting backing from like studios.
Yeah,
which you wouldn't think is he's Spielberg. He's like one of the most commercially successful film directors of all time.
Right.
But he's still just having trouble just getting a friggin' distributing studio to let it.
It's hard. Yeah.
So, but I mean, I'm not surprised since the rise of Netflix is well underway, and I think it's a smart move for Scorsese. Okay, if I can't get a freaking traditional studio to release my film, I think if I go to streaming, I think that would be actually more beneficial.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they're acting as a distribution or if they're acting as like financing up front, but either way, it looks like it'll end up on Netflix as long as that statement is true.
Right.
But yeah, so maybe people just don't trust these older filmmakers as much as they used to.
Yeah, I think because obviously we're seeing a rise of like really fresh, very talented directors coming in, like Ryan Coogler and so on. So I think I think Hollywood's focusing more on, okay, what are these new guys, what can they bring to the table, and like all these directors who were like in their heyday during the 70s and 80s are kind of like, yeah, like they're almost just going off of like just their prestige.
I think they're riding on that like popularity, like coattails and things like that. But another thing maybe we have to think about is with these young filmmakers, 9.5 out of 10 times they want to shoot digitally. They probably want to do it for less money, so that they can make more money like later on, as long as it's successful and all that stuff. Whereas these Spielbergs, the Scorseses, these older, even Coppolas and all these guys, they're like, oh, I want to still shoot on film, and I want these older actors, and I just want all this kind of stuff.
Well, Spielberg, he's the one who's smart, because he's actually, I think all his films, I think since Saving Private Ryan have been digital. So he's been smart in kind of keeping up with the changes of
really.
I'm not sure of all of them, but I think his
shot
digitally.
Film, you said?
I think I'm pretty sure.
I don't think so. I think Bridge of Spies was film.
Was it film?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
I think he's smart. He's done a few digital films. He's also done film, so he's not really like stingent on like shooting on film.
I think
realizes that it's
of like, if we're talking like of the older classic directors like Lucas and Coppola and Spielberg and Scorsese and all those guys that we like study. I think I always thought Spielberg was the most, I guess, attempted to stay the most relevant throughout most of his work, as far as like keeping up with technology, working with younger actors, even though him and like Tom Hanks have a thing, which is a traditional staple of past directors where you usually find that actor that you're really close to and you do a lot of projects with. Then followed by Scorsese as far as like staying on top of things that people are going to want to see and that kind of stuff. I think now he's kind of reverting back to some of his like passion projects, which is a lot of stuff that he was doing up front as a filmmaker.
More of the gangster flicks.
Yeah. Right,
he's known for.
But that's unfortunately coming into a time where gangster flicks aren't as popular anymore. As much as I love them, they're just not as much of a thing. Historical epics aren't as interesting of a thing, and that's something that all of those guys dwelled in as far as their stories and their films.
Yeah, like Spielberg, he did like the BFG, which is more family friendly, less adult. And I would love to see Scorsese do another film like Hugo, which I really loved, and I don't think it was as successful as people had hoped. But I mean, I think if he kind of stays away from the gangster flicks that he's done before, which I think first off that would just make him a little bit more of a diverse director, like Spielberg, and I think it would also just kind of create a wider audience for people to see his work, other than just the kind of the diehard film students that have followed his work.
Because it's like his gangster and his crime films are good. Like, don't get me wrong, I love The Departed, I love Goodfellas. He made Casino too, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So like all those are great. They're fantastic. I really enjoy them. But he also, like you said, he doesn't have as wide of a diversity in his films as far as like
he did like The Last Temptation of Christ, like those kind of films.
And I think that's kind of what Silence, I guess, was getting back to. Because like he did Hugo, and then he did Silence, and even Wolf of Wall Street, which was kind of like in the middle there, was one of those where like it was a crime story to an extent, biopic kind of weird thing going on.
It's like a gangster flick, but
without the
focused on Wall Street.
Right, exactly, because they're kind of like
it's like a
their
rise
own
and fall
set of gangsters. But with Scorsese, it's one of those things where he's like, I think he's really trying to figure out where his legacy is going to wrap up, because he has all these classic gangster films, and then he has all these good movies that he came out with initially as a director that weren't all gangster related. And so I think he's trying to like round out his portfolio and figuring out the best way to like end his legacy on a high note. Because unfortunately, let's be honest, they're all getting older.
Mid-70s.
Yeah. And I'm not wishing this on any of them anytime soon. But they're probably gonna die at some point soon. And I think they're all looking at, okay, what are my last couple movies going to look like, and I think Scorsese is trying to like finish out some passion projects, hence why he made Silence. I think Silence is one of those things where he really wanted to make it like years ago.
He did, yeah.
And finally got a chance to get it out. I still want to see it. I've heard good things from people that actually saw it. But I think he's hit this point where like, how do I make the movies that I still want to make, but still somehow stay relevant to the genre? Whereas someone like Spielberg already has a wide enough portfolio because he did like Tintin and all these other like movies, and he's constantly a producer on stuff where his portfolio and legacy of film is already big enough, especially in recent years, that I don't think he's as worried about some of the things Scorsese is.
Yeah, he's definitely not hurting.
Yeah.
In the shortest sense.
And still not quite as popular as a lot of the younger directors coming up now, but he's not hurting.
No, but it'll be interesting. We don't even know if it's 100% true that'll happen or what the deal is there. I want to see it either way. If I have to go to the theater to see it, which I still enjoy very much, or if I have to sit it on the couch and watch it on Netflix, I'll do that too.
They might do like They did a limited release for the Netflix movie with Idris Elba, Beast of No Nation.
Yes.
I won't be surprised if they do that, where they do a limited release of Scorsese's The Irishman
for Oscar purposes and stuff, right?
Yeah, because I mean, if they can get that film in at least I think 2 theaters in Los Angeles and 2 theaters in New York City, and have a certain amount of people attend, it can qualify for the Oscars.
Yes. Correct.
And if they can do that, then yeah, sure,
definitely,
totally.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So my biggest concern about the movie, though, is we were talking about this a little earlier, with it going to Netflix. And, I mean, Netflix makes great stuff. I'm not knocking what they do. I think it's very impressive. But I never feel like their budget is as massive as like a huge studio. So my concern is with The Irishman, they're like, it's all these older actors, younger in this film. Like,
correct. Right.
Who's it?
Oh, is it like
Niro,
throughout? It's not just like
Pacino.
Okay.
Parts of it, yeah.
Yeah, so like there are a lot of scenes apparently where it's going to be these guys in their younger years.
Well, different stages, like 20s, 40s, 50s,
Right.
60s.
Because I think like the Marvel shows and like The Crown are like have been like the most lavish or have kind of shown off the biggest budget for like the Netflix
and
shows.
even that, I don't think that level of budget. Like, say you take something like, okay, let's take The Crown. I haven't watched it, but I'm assuming this probably has one of the bigger budgets.
Yeah,
bigger than like Daredevil or something like that. But like, even that, I feel like is not enough to cover all that CGI and motion capture for, you know, let's say 40% of a movie, you know, for these characters. I always thought the idea was kind of odd. Like, I love Pacino and De Niro and all those guys, but they're getting older, and I feel like you could have found actors to play the younger version of them.
Yeah, like we want to see Pacino and those guys as they are now. Right. It's just like not pulling like a Michael Douglas and Ant-Man, seeing him young, which was cool to see, and same for Robert Downey Jr. But like for those guys, I think it's more interesting just to see them how they are now.
And it was such a small part of the movie too.
Yeah. I mean, it was like one scene in both those movies. So like seeing like almost half the movie like that, and also like on a Netflix budget. I'm kind of with you there. I'm kind of like, oh man, it's going to
I'm not sure how
worse
good
than
it's
those other
look.
ones.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
That's why I'm thinking they might be just covering distribution and not financing it necessarily. So they're just giving it a place to go when it's done. Because I think they got I can't remember if it was Silence or Irishman that he got funding for it at like Cannes Film Festival. Something like that. So it's a bit more foreign funding than domestic funding.
Which is happening a lot nowadays too.
A lot of co-finances and stuff.
Through China and India.
The Great Wall was co-financed from China, which makes sense because it's about a Chinese empire and all that stuff. But one thing I was going to say with Netflix, on a different topic, but still with Netflix, is a movie I want to check out, and maybe I'll try to watch it this week. So I'll talk about it on the show next week. Is the movie I Don't Feel at Home in This World Anymore, which just won the Grand Jury Prize, Drama Prize at Sundance this January.
That looked pretty funny.
Yeah, with Elijah Wood, and I can never remember her name, but I always remember her for Rose in 2.5 Men. But yeah, those two guys. And then the director is the guy who, or one of the guys that was in the movie Blue Ruin, and then most recently in Green Room. He's part of this, what they're doing, it's like the color trilogy. So it's blue, green, and then red. So they're not connected other than that color theme, which obviously like Blue Ruin has a bit more of a blue tone, and, Green Room is more green tone, all that kind of stuff. And then I don't know what red's going to be, but the first one was a thriller. The second one was more of like a horror film. And then the third one, I'm not really sure. But, yeah, so he's the director. This is his first movie directing. He's probably in it a little bit too. But it looked kind of interesting, looked different and quirky, and something we really haven't seen before, and a Netflix type of movie for sure. So definitely try to check that out. And like I said,
There's another one with John Boyega that came out.
Oh, Imperial
Dreams.
Imperial Dreams, yeah, that looks really good.
But it came out actually like in 2014, but then Netflix just like acquired it, and they're probably using the fact that like he was in Star Wars as to kind of boost it, give it a second boost.
Yeah, he's starting to get a lot of looks. So
yeah, he's gonna end up probably doing really great things post Star Wars. Like I don't think he's gonna fall into like a slump or like a typecasting at all, because he's already doing a lot of diverse things. Like he's in The Circle, he's in Pacific Rim 2, he's
in
the Imperium Dreams
24 miniseries that they came out
with.
That's
right.
Yeah.
That was again before he was famous as well.
Yeah, him and David
Attack the
Ridley
Block.
are doing a pretty good job of getting like separate projects from Star Wars, not just writing it.
Yeah. No, that's good. I wouldn't want to see him just in Star Wars films. Of course, that'll be what we most remember them for, at least us, big Star Wars guys. But if I can also see him in other things, that'd be just as good. And same with, I Oscar Isaac as well.
Mhm.
He was
already like established.
Yeah, he was a bit more established than they were when he started. He was the Harrison Ford of the three of them.
Yeah.
Where he's had a little more to him, but still, he's still fairly unknown. There's a lot of people that still don't know his name, which is unfortunate because he's really a great actor. They all are.
He's one of the best things about Ex Machina, honestly.
Yeah, he does a great job in all the roles. Like, not always the main role, kind of like a Bill Paxton. Not always the main role, but still delivers every role that he's in, even if it's one scene.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he's in the movie Drive, and a little bit of a spoiler, it's not the biggest part in it, but yet you still, like, believe this guy and what he's doing and stuff like that. So that's a good movie, though. You haven't seen it, check that out.
I was listening to the soundtrack the other day, so I have to watch the movie.
Yeah, I have it if you want to borrow it.
Okay, cool. Good. I'll have to
Yeah, it's on Blu-rays that matter.
yes, unfortunately.
Okay.
We'll figure it out.
Okay.
Oh, shit.
I might have the digital copy too. You can probably borrow that. Anyway, let me see. Oh, so we'll go with the Batman next, and then the other.
Yes, let's
piece.
talk about this.
Yes. Okay. So we're gonna keep this brief because we've talked about this a few times now. So we'll just try to keep it to more of an announcement than a discussion. So Matt Reeves of War of the Planet of the Apes and Rise or whatever the second one was, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, is now 100% confirmed to be directing the Batman, still starring Ben Affleck because he's not going anywhere
Praying to
because
gods.
he would be an idiot to leave that role.
Yeah,
Oh.
it would be.
Matt Reeves was an idiot to leave for like that brief period.
I don't think he ever did. I just don't think they confirmed. Like, we
Yeah,
weren't
it
getting
was-
a confirmation.
And
so
so
all
probably
these
asked him, and he's like, "It's not confirmed yet." And
all these news sources were probably like, we didn't get a confirmation, so that must have been a no. And people go for first ones than being right.
Yeah.
Like, they'd rather just get the story out
he
first than
steps
having.
away from the role. and-
Right. It's like, no, I'm taking a break.
The
for a second,
contract wasn't written up yet. So
Right.
I can't say
So
anything
now it is
officially.
official. It is happening. Matt Reeves will direct the Batman, and in the press release that they put out, it said that it's going to be called the Batman. So, which is fine. I don't think it needs
I
anything
seriously
more
didn't
It
think
doesn't
Complex.
need
complex.
Much
another
trouble.
fancy title. It's fine.
Yeah, I didn't think there'd be this much trouble with the Batman. I thought it was kind of a
I
lot.
know.
I know like there's so many like just
what is it have to
flip-flopping.
be?
Like Ben Affleck isn't completely
We
attached
already
to
got
it.
the Dark Knight. Like, what are they going to call it outside of the Batman? The Detective?
Well,
I mean-
it could have been like we have Batman, and now we have the Batman.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine. It's
But
like-
the only thing that would have been like Batman : Hush, or if they were adapting a specific comic book, or I think it's an original story.
okay.
I'm not too sure. I don't think anyone really knows officially what the story is going to be. Hush would be cool. I read most of Hush, but that would involve most of the Rogue Gallery, like Catwoman, Riddler, like they're all in there. I'd also really love to see, also using most of the Rogue Gallery, them adapt the first Arkham game where he's trapped in Arkham Asylum
Yeah.
and kind of has to fight his way out.
That's why I'm excited for this Batman movie, because I feel like unless they do something really stupid, we already have a world established with villains.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need villain origin stories anymore. Just give me a good Batman's here. All the villains are already established.
And give them
He's in
time
his
to, like,
prime.
exercise
Like
their place.
give me all the cool stuff that these guys do.
Right.
Like if Hush isn't, I'm not as familiar with Hush, so that would be cool for me. But like if Deathstroke shows up or Riddler's there or like anybody, literally any other villain, I mean, I'm just excited for it because
Yeah, I mean, I think
you
I think in terms of what's the smartest move and what would get people into the seats would be, I think, adapting like the Arkham games,
know,
because that's the most current, one of the most current and popular like Batman materials.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, and just also having like all the new villains and having the new interpretations of these villains could be really cool.
Because that was the one thing. I love the Dark Knight trilogy, so I'm not trying to like bash or anything like that. But there are so many villains that I wanted to see through that trilogy that probably wouldn't have worked within that trilogy. So I understand them not being there. But like, there was like the rumors of the Riddler being in there, and I thought, oh, that would have been cool because they got Scarecrow, and they had Scarecrow, Roz, Joker, and
I still want to see Catwoman,
Bane.
maybe just see like a better Catwoman than
Right,
like
yeah,
Anne
more of a
Hathaway, which
villainy
was fine, but
Catwoman.
like she wasn't really Catwoman to me. Like
Right.
still, Michelle Pfeiffer is like the best Catwoman.
She's
I've
my
seen.
favorite
Yeah.
Catwoman.
Yeah. But yeah, like for those, they all worked within the story and they served their purpose, and they were great movies. But from a villain standpoint, I always liked some of the other villains that weren't even used. Just in the general, like they of course were used in like the Schumacher films and like stuff like in the Burton films, but of course within that same style and continuity. So it'd be nice to see an updated, more realistic yet still somewhat traditional interpretation of these villains. So hopefully they do take the Arkham approach and give us a couple of villains that he's dealing with.
Yeah.
I know Deathstroke is supposed to be a relatively larger part in
That's true.
this film
he's in it,
as well. But Deathstroke's great. He's cool. I think that would be great to see him on screen. I like the actor they got for him and everything.
Joe Manganiello.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. I can't never.
I'm just glad they're not
pronounce
going with the Joker because I feel like that's just such a safe choice to do the Joker,
Yeah.
and we've seen him like constantly
his name.
in other past Batman films.
And we just saw him in Suicide Squad too.
Yeah, I feel like the studio will do that just to make sure, okay, the movie will at least be a hit because we have Batman and his arch enemy, the Joker.
Yeah.
Right.
I just want them to do a Mr. Freeze movie. I really do. Like,
I think
give me
Mr.
some
Freeze deserves a little more justice.
Yeah, he's due for a reboot.
Although they're doing some pretty cool stuff with him in Gotham. If you watch Gotham,
working on it.
in fact, watch that over the CW shows.
So I've been told.
Yeah, I mean the CW shows are good, but like if you want to catch up quicker and you don't have to worry about like seeing other crossovers and all that stuff, just watch Gotham.
Yeah.
Gotham's where it's at. Okay, well, sticking with DC, sticking with the Batman family, fresh off the news plate of about 3 days is, also whatever sound that is.
It was like a lightsaber sound.
What is it?
It was like a lightsaber sound. The one you did. Mine was more like.
Yeah, I guess it was. Is a Nightwing film, live action film, is coming to the DC universe to be directed by Chris McKay, who directed the Lego Batman movie and other past works being Robot Chicken and Go.
It's definitely like an odd choice because I never took Nightwing to be a comedic hero like Deadpool.
Right.
So I'm curious how that's gonna turn out because it's supposed to be connected to the Batman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Or that universe at least.
Unless he's able to, he can handle serious material like he can with comedic material with the Lego Batman, but give it a very, I guess, flashy or exciting and memorable look to it.
See,
I don't know,
that's the only way I can make that work.
So like Nightwing is, he has because it's Dick Grayson. He's the most lighthearted of the Robins, from my understanding.
Yep.
He's the older one. He's a little bit more on the like sociable side.
Yeah.
The least crazy, I think, out of everyone.
And he's like the most popular state of Dick Grayson. Like,
exactly.
That's why I think they're not doing like a Robin solo movie. They're doing
Right.
a Nightwing because I think that's more
Right,
popular.
But if we're still in this DC universe where Jason Todd has died, and all this other stuff. Spoiler if you didn't see Batman v Superman, but if you don't know Jason Todd dies at some point, then you're not a DC fan.
Right.
Anyway, but so within this world, we know it's going to be darker and more serious. But I think, like you said, I think we do have this opportunity to have the flashier, slightly fun side of Nightwing come out. But it can't be a Deadpool kind of a movie where like he's constantly cracking jokes and stuff like that.
Yeah, because I can't imagine that being next to Batman.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
if they
exactly.
do like a team up movie or something.
He's a sarcastic kind of humor, as opposed to like in comparison to like Bruce Wayne's like almost.
Yeah, he's
zero
like the
humor.
sarcastic, smart-ass teenager to Batman, who's like the father.
Right.
Yeah.
But also as Nightwing, he's older and a little bit more darker,
Mm-hmm.
a little bit more serious than being Robin.
Right.
So like this movie has to be something that has moments and one-liners that are like funny, but they're gonna be funny because it's like a dark humor kind of thing almost. Not it can't be super, it can't be super like crude or anything like that as far as the jokes and that kind of thing are concerned. And I don't know. It's going to be interesting having that kind of approach. I would have thought they would have went with a more, maybe a director that has a little bit more experience in like more stylized action as well.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, the way I'm taking it is that, Warner Brothers saw, okay, maybe they didn't want to pick a director who's just solely just done dark and like stylized action films for like all his career. Let's bring us some fresh meat.
Yeah, they're trying to get lighthearted with it.
We'll see what like a more comedic director can do to this darker material and see if it's more original, more innovative in that sense. That's how I'm taking this choice.
Yeah, they're probably just trying to go bold, trying to mix it up, do a lighthearted comedy something, because I know a lot of fans were like, it's too dark and it's too, this and that. So they're probably like, well, here, we'll give you the guy that made the Lego Batman movie. He kind of knows Batman, right? He had a character with Dick Grayson already, so we'll see. But all right, well, I think that's all we have. I realize it's about 7:15 and the Oscars are on tonight, and I want to make sure we get home if we have to set it up or if we're going to.
Oh, yeah.
Because we're going to have to live stream it, or if we have to come back here to watch it in Radcliffe or whatever. That's like our Super Bowl, so.
True, it is.
Us movie geeks,
Yep.
Are you gonna print out a call or a ballot sheet at all and write your
I usually
predictions?
do, but I might skip this year because I totally forgot about that. I'm kind of behind.
Yeah.
I already have them in my head, so.
I kind of have my ideas in
I
my
got to
head.
work on a paper at the same time, so I'm going to be watching it and like talking about compulsory like judiciary laws.
And then you'll look back and it'll say the winner of Best Picture is.
As long as I catch it before I submit it, we'll be all right.
Yeah, make sure you read it.
I guarantee you, I'll put
proofread.
like Helen and I Water did not win.
Like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
Or something stupid. Which I hope it wins. Is it in the writing category this year?
It is.
Okay, good. I hope it wins that. I thought the script was
Original,
really
I
good.
believe.
But that's really the only thing I think it should win.
Script, supporting actor
For Ben Foster?
for Jeff Bridges.
Jeff Bridges.
Which should have went to Ben Foster, but
I agree. Jeff Bridges didn't give anything that crazy different.
It's the Rooster Cogburn.
Like I love the
he's
character
been doing for a while.
Yeah, it's the same. It wasn't anything different.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll wrap it up with that. We'll have our probably post-Oscar breakdown next week, along with if I watch that movie I mentioned, and whatever else happens. Hopefully not another celebrity death, but you never know. And we will see you next time.
And guys, be sure to check us out. Same Geek Time, same Geek Channel.